Well, thank you, Peter, for the introduction. I'm glad to be here for this session. My name is Robert Knechel, as Peter told you, and I have the pleasure of doing a brief fireside chat with a good friend of mine from New Zealand, Grant Rimmer. I met Grant, well, we won't go far, that far back, I don't think, but I accidentally walked into his retail wine outlet in New Zealand and got to know him. And he's been in the wine business ever since, doing various things. And I think his career is quite interesting. And so I'm going to let Grant, I'm going to let you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Okay, thanks, Robert. A pleasure and privilege to be invited to the session. Yep, my name's Grant, from New Zealand, 32 years now, and some grey hairs to show for it along the way in the wine industry. So, look, I'll skip through it pretty quick. There's a lot there. I basically started in a vineyard harvesting grapes in Australia. Got a taste for it, so to speak. Realised that this as a younger man would be a great career. Then decided to work out what my sort of natural skill set would be best lent towards. Ended up in salad sales, and then went through. Decided I needed to know a little bit more about winemaking. Went into winemaking. Went to University of Adelaide. Did wine marketing. Worked for wineries in Australia and New Zealand, and into senior management, and then decided I could set the world on fire and become an entrepreneur, and then got into the really tough stuff of running your own business. So these days, for the last 18 years actually, I've operated my own business based in the Bay of Plenty. Well, that's where I live, Tauranga. Beautiful small city where we ship New Zealand wine directly to the homes of wine enthusiasts around the world. And we work for, it's an interesting model, both the producer and I guess the end customer to ensure that amazing craft wines of New Zealand arrive at the doorstep in pristine condition, and that relationship can grow and foster into longer term enjoyment for and reward for both the end customer, as well as driving prosperity and much needed profitability for the producers in New Zealand.
Well, Grant, let me hop in here now. You left out a key detail, which is the name of the company, which I believe is New Zealand Wine Collective,
That's
or
right.
NZ Wine Collective. And I've had the pleasure of using the services as a customer. Uh, when I first started, it was just you collected wines and shipped them. Now you have relationships with vineyards where I know I've done this, where you can go in a vineyard, cellar door, and actually enter an order directly on an iPad that's connected to your server, I assume. Anyway, that's all really fascinating. But what we really want to talk about is what you're doing as far as sustainability. Obviously, New Zealand puts a lot of priority on being green and being sustainable. And so I'm curious. I mean, New Zealand's far away from everything, but it does have an excellent wine industry. And so I would just like to give you a chance to talk a little bit about some of the sustainability initiatives you've undertaken so that your carbon footprint is minimized to the max.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. Look at we've done a lot already, and there's a long way to go. There's a key piece which I'm sure we'll touch on in this interview that we're still bringing together. But I guess the starting on the logistics side from actually way before the wine even leaves New Zealand on its journey, we have very precise packaging needs to make sure that wine arrives, as I said earlier, in top condition. And so historically the industry, and sadly actually large parts of the industry, still haven't woken up to the fact that the polystyrene kind of solutions are just awful for the environment. But we've always used them, and because of the cushioning benefits, they're low cost, and they offer some reasonably good thermal protection. So we went on a mission. It's about 4 or 5 years ago now, to see how we could replace that, but also, maintain reasonable cost, and at least the same level, if not greater, levels of thermal protection. We ended up landing on a combination of ingredients that go into our packaging, but the primary ingredient is made of New Zealand sheep wool, and so this is a reuse concept. It's offcuts off the carpet industry here, so it's 100% New Zealand sheep wool that would otherwise have been discarded, and we've had this felted and hand made into a sleeve that all the wines are packed in, and then that's added in our warehouse, and it's on a big scale here. So, but there's, I guess you've just seen, there's a lot of hand care in here, where there's the packaging has a number of compostable and biodegradable. Well, it's all everything except actually the tape is fully biodegradable. We're really, really proud of that, and these get then repurposed into lots of great and kind of interesting initiatives at the other end. That I could go on for hours on different ways people are using them internationally, instead of ending up in the landfill and ruining the environment like the polystyrene. So that's the key point. Would you like me to flow on, Robert, from here on?
Well, I'm actually going to point out one of your commercial successes is that Grant figured out a way to ship 15 bottle cases, which if I recall correctly, is basically about the same cost to shipping 12 cases, which is much more normal. 12 bottles a case, which is more normal, which is commercially, that's a great thing. So how do you ship?
Yep. So I guess the key to our model, both from a commercial point of view, as well as the environmental and sustainability perspective, is that everything's consolidated. So we're not handling an individual case of wine, direct to Robert Knechel in Florida. That case of wine is consolidated from the vineyard or multiple vineyards across New Zealand and received into our warehouse in a large format, many cases and pallets together. So that's minimising, that road transport. And there's a lot of rail that's road rail connections that are occurring there. And then internationally as well, we're exporting that in volume, which is in either travels by sea as our preference, or in some situations by air. And certainly to the longer destinations, 12,000 miles to the UK, and that those are all sea freighted. When it lands at destination, we also use consolidation as much as we practically can until it goes into what we call the last mile, which is often in countries like the States, many last miles. And that's a piece that we then rely on our partners to be doing, responsible behaviours around the biofuels and reduction in emissions with the drivers. So at points we are reliant on other partners, but we do our best as far as we can.
So that's which, given the food miles involved with shipping New Zealand wine to the UK or to Florida for that matter, do you have a position on carbon offsets?
We have a position on it, and this is the piece that's a big work in progress. We yet to land, and really keen to get your support and guidance on this, on something that has genuine integrity. Not everything, but a lot of what we've looked at feels a little scammy, and there seems to be quite a lot of greenwashing going on in various programs that we've evaluated. So the verification that that our offsets are genuinely going to be applied in a in a truly meaningful way is the last piece, which we're looking to bring together now. And I know we can't we can't plant our way out of this exactly. I mean, it's all in terms of the carbon emissions that have occurred for as long as they have and until now. But what we don't want to do is enter the wrong program, and there's lots of stories and rumor around double overstating and double accounting and things like that. So that's the last piece of our puzzle.
Well, I think that's very important to hear a business person say that, because as an auditor and insurance provider, I think there is a lot of issues that we still have to resolve, as far as what does it mean when you click that button on an airline website saying buy a carbon offset. Because once you click that button and pay your fee, nobody really knows what's happening.
No.
I mean, it's very hard to find any information about what the airline is actually doing with that. So I think that is something that, as accountants, my profession, we have to really start thinking about how do we get to a better place on that. So we're about running out of time. You got a couple more minutes. Is there anything else you'd like to add to this?
I think I'd just like to add that as an industry, the New Zealand Wine Growers Association, which is our governing body, initiated a sustainable wine growing program in 1995, and that's something that our industry has rapidly gotten behind. And I was around in 1995 in the wine industry before that even. So we're a champion, if you like, of the cause, and there's been a huge effort and a lot of investment going into evolving winemaking practices and vineyard practices over the years to achieve that. And I think we're in the 90% sustainable practices by the international certification standards. And so what we do is we need to do both. It's the right thing, but it's fits with the industry is to take that to the last mile and to completing the distribution, the global distribution piece that we're involved with as well. So it's an overarching commitment that we're involved in.
Well, I can tell you a bottle sock story. My wife decided these things are useful for lining planters. So because they also repel some water, which means the water doesn't drain off as fast. So I didn't know they were made out of sheep wool, though. I was always curious about that.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Grant.
No, they are, and that's there's wish we had more time, Robert. I could share some pretty cool stories on the way that they've been repurposed. And actually in Australia, one really quick one, microbats, when they had the big Australian bushfires, that they were repurposed into mini sleeping bags to protect the microbats that had their mothers had perished in the fires, and they had all these small natural bats that needed protection, and our wine socks and wine sleeves came to the rescue.
Well, everybody likes to end on a happy story. So I think at that point, I'm going to thank you, Grant, for taking the time to chat with us, and good luck with the business. And I'll look forward to my next shipment when I get around to order something.
Yeah, nice.
It's a little hot in Florida to be shipping to Florida right now.
Yeah, nice.
But anyway, thank you very much.
Nice chatting. My pleasure. Thanks, Robert.